So it's a pleasure to be here, back in New York, and back with this group, and I'm having serious facility envy here, as we only rent our place in North Carolina. It's great, it's been a lively experience. I think it's appropriate that the musical group playing today is also called Run for Cover, so you've been warned. In late June of this year, I began questioning the meaning and purpose of life. This is something that I've done periodically in my lifetime, but it came at me with a little more urgency. And I revisited the idea of human consciousness, what it means to be me. And for some of you, as Bart had indicated, this past summer I had my closest brush with death. And that can be an experience that focuses the mind. I've described my accident to some of you and then written about it, but I'm going to do so again, both for the benefit of those of you who haven't heard it, and because the telling of it for me continues to be therapeutic. So I'll go through that. And the short version is, as Bart said, last summer while riding home on my regular bicycle commute, I was broadsided by a motorcycle. But to flesh it out a little bit with a little more detail, Wednesday, June 18th, was a beautiful sunny day in North Carolina. It was about 85 degrees. At 5:40, I left work for my 25-minute bike ride home. My commute is nothing heroic here. It's a nice, easy ride. But part of my route includes traveling on Cornwallis Road, named after the general. A busy two-lane road with no shoulder, and intermittently heavy traffic, and a posted speed of 45 miles an hour, which I don't go quite that fast usually. As I approached my left turn off of this road, there was no oncoming traffic, so I looked over my left shoulder, and the only thing I saw was a motorcycle that was about a block behind me. And I drive this road all the time. I thought, I've got plenty of time. I only need to move over 12 feet, and I'll be out of this lane. So I took control of the lane, signaled for my left turn, and turned. But immediately after I turned, my peripheral vision alarm went off. You know the experience when something at the edge of your field of vision attracts your attention and your head snaps over to see what it is. Well, what it was an extreme close-up of the motorcycle bearing down on me at high speed, making no effort to stop or swerve. And I thought that was the last thing that I would ever see. The last experience that I would ever have. For a split second, I thought that for me, that was all there would ever be. And then I felt the impact. All along the left side, particularly in my chest. And then, surprisingly, I was flying through the air. This sensation of flight was unusual and brief. In a way, it was almost euphoric. Soaring through the air felt fantastic. I imagine that my subconscious knowledge that I was not dead may have contributed in some way to this feeling of euphoria. Then I had another impact as I slammed into the road and slid onto the grassy shoulder. My pain circuits were firing overtime. My breath came in gasps as I struggled to breathe. And in this moment, I had what in retrospect I think was a very interesting and unusual experience. As I lay on my back, racked with pain, trying to make sense of it all, my mind stepped up in a very dispassionate way and pulled my body. My mind asked my body, "Can you move your neck?" "Yes," my body answered. My mind asked, "Can you wiggle your fingers? Can you wiggle your toes?" "Yes, and yes," my body answered. "Then we'll get through this," my mind concluded. Later, reflecting on this schizophrenic exchange between my mind and my body, I realized that I had actually experienced dualism, the concept that the mind and the body are distinct and separate. what philosophers call the mind-body problem. I was surprised to experience this mind-body distinction, because this separation of mind and body goes against my personal philosophy, my understanding of who and what I am. While I see my mind as a distinct part of me, separate from, say, my arm, I do not see it as having its own existence, independent of my body. I do not believe that I have a soul, and I don't believe that you do either. When my body dies, my mind, a part of my body, dies along with the rest of me. This does not mean that I do not consider my mind to be perhaps the most important part of me. My mind houses my thoughts, my personality, my distinctiveness, and it's critical in constituting what I see as me. I can lose parts of my body, but once my mind is gone, my biographical life ends. Without my mind, I am written out of the narrative that is my life. For brain death is death. So how do I reconcile my experience of a mind-body distinction with my philosophical materialist position, the position that my mind is an extension of my body where chemical reactions form my experience of consciousness? After more thought, I concluded that I really don't need to reconcile this distinction. It all comes down to a matter of interpretation. I see my experience of mind-body separation as a perfectly natural part of my human experience. Our brains are designed to feel this mind-body separation, and it can be useful, as it was when I was holding my body for functioning during a very difficult time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that my experience reflects objective reality any more than hallucinations do. But many religions have taken this experience of mind-body separateness as indicating there is indeed something that exists independently of our bodies and continues after our bodies are gone. Some religions refer to this as the soul. One of the results of this type of thinking is the idea that each of us has sacredness because our souls have this eternal connection.